From the frosty shores of the North Saskatchewan River, this is your host, Scott Roos, and you are listening to Down to the River radio show straight from PA today, all the way over to Montreal with the two principal evil geniuses of a new, perhaps emerging Montreal folk rock act called Little Misty. This is Kathryn and Francois on the line. How are you doing there, guys?
We're great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to be talking to you. I've had a chance, of course, to process your record just over the last couple of days, and I'll have to say, this thing is it's a tour de force. And from what I understand now, you guys kind of have decided to go a little bit out of the box from what you have traditionally done, right? I mean, what sort of led you to make the decision to switch from, the jazz scene to something a little bit more, I guess they're calling it progressive folk.
Yeah, well, that's how we've been describing it, for lack of better description. I don't know. That was a long process. We come from the jazz scene here in Montreal mostly, but we've been kind of dipping toes in different styles and genres for a while now. And I guess when we started writing, we were listening to a lot of folk music at that moment in time. So yeah, we ended up doing that.
So this is something that essentially just kind of emerged organically in when you guys put your heads together and started writing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was it's a brand new band. So, I mean, when we started writing together, it's we didn't have anyone expecting us to do anything specific. So we
explored.
Yeah, we allowed ourselves to do whatever we felt like doing. So yeah.
well now that's a considering the state of the music industry, I mean, that's a nice position to be in. I mean, let's back this up though. Now, Kathryn, you guys have been writing together for a while now. I mean, how long does your musical partnership go back, and when did you start realizing that you were going to do this together?
We gigged and played together for the last 10 years or so, but more as in the jazz scene, and the writing really just came about two and a half years ago maybe, and it was just an impromptu let's meet, I have a text, let's jam, and it was really fun and easy, and it was sort of our first time also doing that, as we are mostly how do we say in English? Pigistes, so sidemen in projects, in other bands.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to do that. We were at the same, place in our lives and artistically as well. So it was really came naturally.
Yeah, it was the first time that we were completely in charge of writing from A to Z, songs.
Right. Well, yeah. Now, given the very rich and dense Montreal jazz scene, then I would imagine you guys have got some sort of education or experience behind what you're doing?
Well, I guess so. Yeah, we've been doing that for a while, and we did study music. And but that seems long ago.
It does. We really I think we met in school, through school, so in university, and pursued a lot of studies, how do you say, at graduate level, right?
Yeah.
But we weren't getting necessarily what we wanted to do artistically, creatively. But we did get a lot of knowledge and stuff and contacts and
Yeah, music school is a funny place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, because sometimes when you're going through the process of music school, you're almost over analyzing and over consuming the music to a point that it almost doesn't become enjoyable, because you're always, you're trained to have this critical mind when you're listening, instead of just allowing yourself to absorb it and just enjoy it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly it. But it always depends, who are your teachers, and it depends. Every experience is different.
Yeah, so are we talking McGill here? Is that where you guys went?
I I went to McGill.
Well, we both did Université de Montréal in French for the undergrad,
Uh-huh.
and then we both studied at McGill sometime. And I wandered off to Quebec City at the end because I had my fill of yeah. So, but we pretty much studied in the big schools in Montreal here.
So yeah, we know how to read music now.
Well, there you go. Well, now
We can make charts.
well, now that's why I'm getting into that, because I mean, when you guys get together and you're writing songs now, given the fact that you have that, educated musical background, I mean, what does that songwriting process look like compared to maybe how some of your peers might do it in the genre?
Oof, I don't know. Well, I think like what kind of makes us stand out a little bit is like, since we're coming from the jazz scene, like harmonically and rhythmically, our take on folk music is a bit different. There's like, I don't know, there's like more stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and I know that for me, when there's like a musical decision to be made, I tend to like not go the easy way all the time. It's like when we like found something that we feel like we heard before, we do everything possible to avoid it.
Not to go there.
Yeah.
But it's so funny to just to come to the conclusion that when we do sit down and write, there's like no way, like it's mostly comes from jamming and sitting down on a couch and like saying, okay, what are we gonna do here? And it's really a constructed way of working. It's just
yeah, the way we do it is we just like jam in the living room with like a recorder on the table and just listen back to those jams and pick what we like.
Yeah.
And build with it.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's basically kind of the time-honored tradition, with the exception of the the technology that you've got at your disposal now for writing songs.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not necessarily surprising, but I mean, Francois, I do like what you said about your approach harmonically, because I mean, in a lot of your own guitar work on this self-titled record, you can hear those sort of more jazzy passing chords, and I would imagine now that that's by design to give your work a little bit more texture.
Yeah, but that was like it's funny you say that. It was a really hard thing to do, to try to stay in the folk aesthetic without going to, I don't know, like just to find the right balance between that was really hard.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, and the other thing I noticed about your guitar playing on this record now, just from the standpoint melodically or even riff orientated, is your guitar is almost like a separate but complementary voice to Kathryn's, and I'm wondering now if that was a conscious decision and how that sort of evolved.
I don't know. What do you think, Kath?
I think it is for some of the songs part of a voice indeed, but I don't think it was how can I say, conscious, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think it's what you're saying might have to do by the fact that I'm playing guitar and she's singing, and like most of the folk acts that we see, it's pretty often the same person singing and playing guitar.
Right.
So to have like two brains doing those things kind of makes a difference a little bit. I think. I don't know.
Well, now let's talk about a couple of the tracks that you guys have got on here that sort of, struck me just because of their, different feel or their complexity. For instance, the second track on your self-titled debut record, Little Misty, is called Keeper. And you've got a bit of a 6/8 or 3/4 feel that kind of comes across as almost like more like of a soul track, or like, one of those old, late 50s ballad type feels. What can you guys tell me about that one specifically?
Oh well. The story is like it's well. The story is about Kathryn's experience as a young mother. But talking, if you want to talk about the feel, I don't know. We were trying to. We did listen to a lot of like Patsy Cline, like old, like old 12/8 from the late 50s.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that with like a modern twist.
And we did listen to a lot of. I listened to a lot of Timber Timbre as well.
Timber.
Yeah, Timber. So that, we want it to be a little bit eerie and a little bit spooky, but sweet at the same time. So that's sort of what came naturally, you know.
Oh yeah, and we were thinking a lot about like the Twin Peaks music when we were recording that. Those are the influences.
Yeah, for sure. Well, now the very next track, Path, almost has this kind of Pink Floyd, The Wall, heavier feel to it, particularly about 2/3 of the way through the song. And of course, you've got a descending line in the chord progression coming from the guitar, which I found interesting. I mean, now, did you grow up listening to David Gilmour's guitar playing when you were younger, Francois?
Oh yeah, Pink Floyd is a huge influence. You nailed it.
So Kathryn, now are you the primary lyricist in Little Misty?
Yes. So on the 9 songs, I wrote 7. There may be 1 or 2 that Francois and I sort of wrote. Together, but there are 2 of the songs on the album, Old Ghosts and Rain Won't Wait, which the lyrics actually come from a radio host and writer that comes from Montreal. His name is Stanley Péan.
Right.
And so we're that.
So then in Path, Kathryn, what are you writing about there?
I was like in a frustrated sort of mood when I was writing that text, and I felt a bit angry. So I was just, when you're like sort of going around circles, you find that you have these patterns and you can't like break free from them. So that was sort of what I was trying to.
It's not bad habits.
Bad habits and like bad patterns, right? So.
Yeah. Now, who's responsible for this sort of atonal, almost 8-bit sounding solo about 3/4 of the way through that one? Is that something you're doing on your guitar, Francois?
Oh no, that's like a synthesizer solo that Jerome played, but we had a pretty specific idea of what we wanted there. I kind of coached him through that. It's a synth. It sounds kind of like a robot, like an angry robot.
Yeah.
There's somebody else that wondered if it was a saxophone as well.
It's just like kind of like it's kind of like a nightmare noise. It's like it's more feel than like a melodic solo that we wanted there. It's I think it works.
But it made me think of Frank Zappa's classical stuff, or of course Zappa was chiefly influenced by Pierre Boulez, so I mean it was kind of something in there. But I almost wondered now, with the advent of technology with guitar pedals, if it was something you had done just
this is like an MS-20. It's a vintage synth from like 1978.
Wow.
There's no pedal involved in that thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah.
Now, you did mention one of the songs that you guys didn't write, and it was, at least the lyrics to, and that's "Rain Won't Wait," and that one stands out because it's almost has a more of a traditional folk, almost bluegrass feel to it. Interesting choice for the texture there, guys.
Yeah, well, as we mentioned earlier, like when we started writing, we had no idea where we were going, and I don't know, one day we just wrote that, and we tried to bring it aesthetically more towards the rest of the record, but it didn't really make sense. It made more sense to just let it be, and it would be like a party bluegrass song, and we really like it that way. It is definitely like a weird song on this record. But
let's just say
it's fun.
the pacing of the record was not so easy for us to do either because where
everything's so different.
Everything is so different when we do realize it. But we wanted it also, since we were only like printing vinyls and not CDs.
Yeah.
We wanted like the A side and the B side to like have some sort of a balance and like with the story and everything. And
sure.
But yeah, it's definitely a fun song to play live.
Oh yeah.
It's super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I bet that's a crowd pleaser that brings everybody up to the front, eh?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, now, you just said something interesting, Kathryn, which I hadn't realized in my research, and that's that you guys decided to print vinyl only. I mean, why no CDs? Like, are you basically just throwing in the towel here and admitting that maybe physical CDs are almost like a dead format?
Well, I wasn't the one necessarily to like take that decision. I think that I was I haven't printed CDs before. I know with one project I had printed CDs and it was still, people still had CD players in the computers but for instance, I don't have a CD player now in my computer, and we don't have one at home. So
right,
it's a bit of a dying technology.
And also, my husband Jérôme, he has boxes of CDs of like so many projects in which he's doing, as a sideman and as his main project, and we have boxes and boxes at home, and we're just like.
They don't sell that much.
Yeah, so I think if we do print CDs, it would be more for
promotional purpose. But even then, you don't really need it. I mean, you guys, like, how do you get the records? Like, you probably got a WAV format on the internet somewhere.
Oh yeah, like I get copies of records from PR people on a daily basis,
okay.
or like links, streaming links or whatever. It's funny because I'm a music teacher here in Prince Albert, and I was trying to explain to a student the other day that the accompaniment for his festival piece was on a CD, and he was like, "What's a CD? What is that?" Like, he didn't even. This is a 10-year-old kid, right? But he hasn't been raised in the culture of CDs. Like, he didn't even know what it was. Which, like, I mean, that's where things have gotten to, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean, we had to make a decision about that, and there's also, I mean, it's sad to say, but there's all a budget thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Because printing a batch of CD, it's pretty expensive, and I don't know, we kind of had to make the choice between vinyl or CDs, and it made more sense to do vinyls.
Yeah, well, I think just if I'm gonna go to a little Misty show, I'm probably gonna be looking to get a vinyl instead, and I know you guys are probably gonna be at your merch booth after a show signing things, and when push comes to shove, I'd rather you sign a copy of basically the album artwork that's in a much larger, more enjoyable, physical, format.
Yeah, the object is much more beautiful. Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, now listen, guys. I mean, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I mean, I have really enjoyed and appreciated this conversation. So, I mean, now that the record, which released February 14th, has had a chance to get out there a little bit. I mean, what's your next step here, guys?
Well, we have a few shows that will be coming up that we can't disclose, the information, but more in the Montreal area.
Uh-huh.
And we're hoping, we have some booking opportunities as well. So basically, we just want to play shows, and it's a new scene. Not that's new, but it's a little bit of a new scene for us as well. So we're going to try to find our way through it, and we really want to play. That's why we're really live musicians. So,
right.
So we're really hoping that we get the opportunity.
Yeah, just taking the time to do things right. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're probably not going to be touring that much this summer since it's pretty late to start organizing everything. But definitely in 2021, you gotta probably hear about us.
Yeah. Well, it
in the
sounds like
town.
it sounds like you guys have a pretty firm resolve with this project. So I guess, as a bit of a final question, I mean, what makes Little Misty stand out more from things that you've done in the past?
Huh.
Stand out.
Huh.
Um,
Well, okay, I'll answer that. Well, for me, well, yeah, I've been writing instrumental music a lot in the past, and there was like the first project that I combined like my knowledge of like writing instrumentals with songwriting, and I don't know, it's like it's an important project for me.
yeah, but and it's sort of, on dirait en français, inclassable. So you can't. I think that what makes it maybe stand out is people have a lot of trouble putting a label on it, and like, just saying, is it folk, is it bluegrass, is it rock, is it jazz? It is what it is. It's music, and yeah, I think that, and live, it's just really fun.
So, where's the best place that we can, get our hands on maybe getting some of this music, or even finding out a little bit more about the band?
Well, you can definitely follow us on Instagram and Facebook. It's Little Misty. That's like the thing that we do now. And we also have a website where like all our shows will be posted. And
It's on Bandcamp
yeah,
Bandcamp. We have the vinyl.
if you want a vinyl ship, just go to Bandcamp.
Mm-hmm. And also you can obviously stream the music, and you can buy it on Bandcamp and iTunes as well.
Right on, guys. Well, like I said off the top, this is Kathryn and Francois of a very, very fine emerging progressive folk band, Little Misty, who released their debut self-titled record, Little Misty, on February 14th. A nice little Valentine's present for all of us, music geeks. So I really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming down to the river with me today, guys. I really appreciate it.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Right on. Well, you guys have a good day.
You
You too.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.